Today we are at the headquarters of KenGen. It was incorporated back in 1954, and of course it is one of those leading power providers in East Africa. Now, of course, I want to get into this conversation about where is KenGen given COVID, what's happening in the industry, in the energy sector. So I'm talking to Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Rebecca Miano. Let's get into this discussion with her because we have lots to chat about. But first, take a look at her profile. Mrs. Rebecca Miano is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Electricity Generating Company PLC, KenGen. She is the first woman to hold the position since incorporation of the company in 1954. Rebecca Miano joined KenGen in 1998 and worked in various roles, rising through the establishment to the level of acting managing director and CEO before she was confirmed to the position in November 2017. She also previously worked for the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, which adds up to her 24 years plus experience in the energy sector. She was the founding patron of KenGen's Pink Energy Forum, which was formed out of the need to encourage and facilitate female employees to grow boldly to their potential in line with their respective professions. Mrs. Miano is a registered certified public secretary Kenya with the Registration of Public Secretaries Board and won the company's Secretary of the Year status in 2010 under the Champions of Governance Awards. Mrs. Miano is also a commissioner for oaths since 2001, a notary public since 2003, and a finalist for chartered arbitrator. She was also awarded the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya in 2010 by the head of state in recognition of her outstanding services rendered to the nation. Well, thank you so much for making time for us, Ms. Miano, today.
Thank you, Malika.
Even before we get into the numbers, before we get into what is happening in the energy sector and with COVID affecting the economy and more, what has your journey been like as a woman in this kind of leadership position? Because as we were just chatting before, you've been here for close to 27 years, and I think that's incredible. So tell me a little bit about that.
My journey has been exciting, but of course challenging. But at the end of it, when I look at what I've gone through, it has been all worthwhile. I feel very, very honored to hold this position, to serve such a great company, to lead very skilled employees, and we have been able to provide stable generation of electricity in this country. I have risen through the ranks, held various positions. It's been a staircase journey all the way to the top, and I'm really honored to be here.
That's amazing. And what do you think about, across the business sector when we talk about promoting women to top leadership positions? What more do you think needs to be done there?
I think we need to encourage women to take up positions, but I also encourage women to be more confident, to come out and be counted, to really work hard and work on their competence. Because when you're so good at what you do, nobody will push you aside. We also need to be more resilient as women, not to give up. I have seen many women giving up at every challenge that they come across. We need to really be resilient. And the other thing, we need mentors. Us in these leadership positions, we should mentor other women, hold their hands, so that we succeed together. Personally, I am a product of great mentorship from very phenomenal women, and we all need to rally ourselves through mentorship.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Now let's get into the more technical aspects of what's happening at KenGen. And so you reported quite a substantial growth in the first half net profits. What drove these results, and how does that really impact your end of year performance then?
Yes, you're right. In our half year, we recorded very good profit, and this is attributable to the tax credits because of the commissioning of All Carrier 5. And when we got a tax credit, that then pushed our profits up. The other thing was that geothermal generation went high and contributed a lot to that profit. And then our diversification strategy. We, like I had said before, we got some contracts in Ethiopia for drilling, and that pushed our other income to almost double. And that's why we had very good results. Going forward, we know that COVID has really affected the demand for power, but the company's fundamentals and strategy are quite strong. So we expect a steady company and a steady performance despite the crisis.
So even as we were, looking at COVID, we know that a lot of work operation-related activities have been affected as much as the overall impact is even vast. So what kind of changes have you had to make, in the short term to accommodate a lot of things that have come about due to COVID?
COVID has affected a lot of companies, including KenGen. And being in the essential services sector, we really had to put in place different measures to ensure a steady and reliable supply of electricity. We have put in place shift system to ensure that we have decongested the workplace, but at the same time, ensuring continuity of power generation. So we have really shifted the way we were doing things. And of course, we have done a lot of fumigation, sanitizing, social distancing, and we have actually followed to the letter the directives we have received from the Ministry of Health. Because if our operators or if the company is affected by COVID, that may affect the power generation. So we are being extra vigilant to ensure that the country doesn't lack these essential services of electricity.
And of course, at such a time, energy is important throughout, so it's not going to dip in terms of the demand for it in any case. But have you seen any shift in terms of the supply chain aspect?
We have seen some delays, especially this importation. We have some components and spare parts that are solely imported, and because of the lockdown worldwide, we have seen some delay. But luckily, we had strategic spares already in our stock, and we do hope that that will last us up to when the lockdown then is lifted worldwide. So far, so good, but it's really been a challenge.
So a lot of companies, and not just KenGen here, but a lot of companies have had to then rely on local supply of things which were initially being imported during this time. How do you think the manufacturing sector has evolved, perhaps have had to evolve very fast in this period of time?
As a company, we are big supporters of local companies and even local manufacturing. But what COVID has then brought to the fore is the need to have more things manufactured locally, like cables, even turbines in future, and all these components. We really hope that the manufacturing will be done in the country, and we will be the supporters of that initiative, so that when there is such a lockdown, then we are not affected by getting the parts that we require.
True, and I think we've seen quite a bolstering in the sector in terms of the health-related equipment. So like you say, we need to keep diversifying on that as well. How has KenGen positioned itself to have that continued electricity in this period? Have you had to have maybe some backups come into place or put a new strategy in place to ensure that that is not disrupted?
Our strategy has remained in place. What we have done is to look at how we can quickly adapt to what is happening. We have had to ensure that at any given time, we have operators that are safe somewhere. In case something happens, then there won't be much interruption. We are looking at our strategy and the growth going forward. We have seen a very big dip, about 25% in power demand, but we believe that will pick up after the world opens up again, when industries are operating to full capacity, the restaurants and the power consumption goes up, we will ensure that we continue to provide adequate electricity to the country.